hear how you're and the successes that you've had and that we're going to be building on, because we're hoping to do a number of things that are sort of similar to what you have been doing. So thanks for paving the way for the rest of us. Later on in the meeting, Taylor Moellers will be a part of our meeting. She will be doing some updating on the pay for waste services. So that'll come up later tonight. I also wanted to let you know that after a lot of discussion among the committee, we have decided that we are going to move the meeting to 6:30. So it'll still be the fourth Thursday, but it's going to be at 6:30 instead of 7. And it'll be another hour-and-a-half meeting. That's what we've set aside. And also a bit of an update, we're going to try to plan ahead a little bit what our upcoming meetings are going to be. Definitely tonight is a lot of us all coming together, talking about our issues, our concerns, and how we think we could work together to address climate issues. Part of our next meeting, the meeting in March, will have some legislative updates, because there are some things that are going through the legislature that is going to be affecting Denver as well as statewide issues. So that'll be a part of the agenda for March. Like I've said, I'm on my phone tonight. I apologize. I've not done a Zoom on a phone like this before because my Xfinity has been out since 10 this morning and they said it'd be back at 5 and it's past 5. So Perry is really taking the heavy load here tonight. The other things we'd like you to do is make sure that you've already added your neighborhood to your name and mute yourself if you're not speaking. And be sure to leave your video on because it's nice to see everybody, even though I can only see one of you at a time. Let's see. So we're going to be doing breakout sessions. There's specific topics that every group will be discussing. Then we'll have a little report back. Then Taylor will come on and we'll just sort of go from there. So I'm going to turn this session over to Perry, who is going to put people in breakout groups, and the leader of your breakout group will conduct your session, and then we'll all come back together at the end of that time. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It's great to see all of you here. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, so I just want to say a little bit about the breakout rooms. We're going down from 6 to 4 because we have 33 people here tonight. 58 had registered. I'm going to let Zoom randomly assign you to these breakout rooms, and then I'll be moving volunteer hosts into each of the 4 of them. The 2 rooms that we're not going to do, Jane, are going to be yours since you're on your phone and you can't really host a room. And then Sunny Benoit, I don't know if I'm saying your last name right. You kindly offered at the very last minute today to do room 6, and I'm just going to X that one and send you to another one, and that should work out great. What we're going to ask of from each room is that somebody step forward and take notes, and then your host will give you instructions about that. Everyone's going to have the same questions tonight. We want you to get to know each other, just sort of break the ice for the rest of the year, and you'll see what the questions are, and then you're going to come back and report back before we hear from Taylor. So let's see how this goes.
Thanks, Perry.
Sorry, folks, I'm not up to this tonight.
Thank you for trying.
Yeah, I just, I don't know, I'm not feeling too well, so I think I'm going to say goodbye. Steve Nissen got us interested in this. There is another person from Alamo Placida here, so maybe he will be up for it, but I don't think I am. Good night.
Good night. And Tom, you're supposed to be facilitating. How come you're still here?
I went, the thing came up to request me to go there, and I couldn't get there in time to admit myself.
Oh, okay.
So I think if I re-invite me.
Yeah, let me find you. It's no longer, once you got randomly assigned, it lost any order here.
Let's see what I got here. What does this have to do? Room 2. How about I'm going to join room 2? How's that?
You should be in room 1, actually.
Oh, no, really? Okay.
Yeah, because we took out 1 because
fine.
Jake's not doing it.
That's fine.
So
All right, off to room 1.
Oh, good. Awesome.
See you on the other side.
Yeah. Okay, and what about John?
Hey, I got kicked when I tried to update the permissions on my phone.
Oh, okay,
So
let's see.
I was in room 4.
Oh, you're John. Are you John? Okay, I can assign you to, let's see, who has the least number of people? I'll assign you to 2.
Thank you.
We're just getting used to this.
Yeah, it's my first time doing sub meetings.
Once you get good, I've been in some that are really awesome. Okay, let's see. And Stephen Holmquist, you're still in the main room too. Is this where you want to be, or should I assign you to another one? You're on mute.
How you're and the successes that you've had and that we're going to be building on, because we're hoping to do a number of things that are sort of similar to what you have been doing. So thanks for paving the way for the rest of us. Later on in the meeting, Taylor Moellers will be a part of our meeting. She will be doing some updating on the pay for waste services. So that'll come up later tonight. I also wanted to let you know that after a lot of discussion among the committee, we have decided that we are going to move the meeting to 6:30. So it'll still be the 4th Thursday, but it's going to be at 6:30 instead of 7. And it'll be another hour-and-a-half meeting. That's what we've set aside. And also a bit of an update, we're going to try to plan ahead a little bit what our upcoming meetings are going to be. Definitely tonight is a lot of us all coming together, talking about our issues, our concerns, and how we think we could work together to address climate issues. Part of our next meeting, the meeting in March, will have some legislative updates, because there are some things that are going through the legislature that is going to be affecting Denver as well as statewide issues. So that'll be a part of the agenda for March. Like I've said, I'm on my phone tonight. I apologize. I've not done a Zoom on a phone like this before because my Xfinity has been out since 10 this morning and they said it'd be back at 5 and it's past 5. So Perry is really taking the heavy load here tonight. The other things we'd like you to do is make sure that you've already added your neighborhood to your name and mute yourself if you're not speaking. And be sure to leave your video on because it's nice to see everybody, even though I can only see one of you at a time. Let's see. So we're going to be doing breakout sessions. There's specific topics that every group will be discussing. Then we'll have a little report back. Then Taylor will come on and we'll just sort of go from there. So I'm going to turn this session over to Perry, who is going to put people in breakout groups, and the leader of your breakout group will conduct your session, and then we'll all come back together at the end of that time. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It's great to see all of you here. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just want to say a little bit about the breakout rooms. We're going down from 6 to 4 because we have 33 people here tonight. 58 had registered. I'm going to let Zoom randomly assign you to these breakout rooms, and then I'll be moving volunteer hosts into each of the 4 of them. The 2 rooms that we're not going to do, Jane, are going to be yours since you're on your phone and you can't really host a room. And then Sunny Benoit, I don't know if I'm saying your last name right. You kindly offered at the very last minute today to do room 6, and I'm just going to X that one and send you to another one, and that should work out great. What we're going to ask of from each room is that somebody step forward and take notes, and then your host will give you instructions about that. Everyone's going to have the same questions tonight. We want you to get to know each other, just sort of break the ice for the rest of the year, and you'll see what the questions are, and then you're going to come back and report back before we hear from Taylor. So let's see how this goes.
Thanks, Perry.
Sorry, folks, I'm not up to this tonight.
Thank you for trying.
Yeah, I just, I don't know, I'm not feeling too well, so I think I'm going to say goodbye. Steve Nissen got us interested in this. There is another person from Alamo Placida here, so maybe he will be up for it, but I don't think I am. Good night.
Good night. And Tom, you're supposed
Oh,
to be facilitating. How come you're still here?
I went, the thing came up to request me to go there and I couldn't get there in time to admit myself.
Oh,
So I
okay.
think if I re-invite me.
Yeah, let me
That's
find
okay.
you. It's no longer, once you got randomly assigned, it lost any order here.
Let's see what I got here. What does this have to do? Room 2. How about I'm going to join room 2? How's that?
You should be in room 1, actually.
Oh, no, really? Okay.
Yeah, because we took out 1 because
fine.
Jake's not doing it.
That's fine.
So
All
can
right,
you-
off to room 1.
Oh, good. Awesome.
See you on the other side.
Okay, and what about John?
Hey, I got kicked when I tried to update the permissions on my phone.
Oh, okay,
So
let's see.
I was in room 4.
Oh, you're John. Are you John? Okay, I can assign you to, let's see, who has the least number of people? I'll assign you to 2.
Thank you.
We're just getting used to this.
Yeah, it's my first time doing sub meetings.
Once you get good, I've been in some that are really awesome. Okay, let's see. And Stephen Holmquist, you're still in the main room too. Is this where you want to be, or should I assign you to another one? You're on mute.
Sustainability issues. I think that's about it. We found out that if you're a new mother, you don't really have time for sustainability things right now. This was also brought up to us, so we covered a lot of stuff.
Sounds great. Thanks, Tom. Anybody from that group want to add anything at this point, or anybody from another group want to ask a quick question, follow-up question?
I would like to add that we were very fortunate because we had representation from way southeast, way northwest, central Denver, and it was just wonderful. I mean, everybody participated. One of the things that Bob brought up that we didn't have a chance to talk about enough, but maybe we'll put it on our agenda for later, is the idea of a heat exchange. And I know that there's ways that heat can be brought up through the earth into buildings and different kind of things. I think that's something that I want to put on our agenda for later, using a heat exchange. And like he said, and like Bob said, is that INC could be sort of a clearinghouse for all the different ideas that come up. And that's it, geothermal. Thank you very much. I knew somebody would know that. And that we need to be making some plans for Earth Day, and we'll talk about that as well. So we had a good group. Thank you all for group 1.
Great. Thanks. Okay, group 2 was Mark Orrs. There you are.
Hi, everybody. I'll share a little summary of our group. We also come from many different parts of Denver, a lot of representation from the CHUN area, which was a new acronym for me. So some Cap Hills, a couple Congress Parks, but then folks from West Wash Park, Wash Park East, Hampton Heights, Whittier, and Sunnyside. Only 2 of the groups have relatively active green teams or climate groups, and actually one of those groups is a little bit subsided from Congress Park since the pandemic, and they've transitioned their efforts into a Denver neighborhood green newsletter that they're working on. So I'll let Tara talk about that. I think she should share that with the whole group, so that if anybody has any interesting stories for her to write about, they can share that. And the other one was West Park. Sorry, there were 3 neighborhoods. So Wash Park East has a small committee focused primarily on regular cleanups and National Wildlife Federation certified backyard habitat kind of stuff. They're interested in maybe merging their group into Inc.'s climate group just to have greater impact. And then West Wash Park also does have a climate and sustainability team, but we don't know much about their initiatives yet, but we'll get more information for next meeting. In terms of topics that people are sort of interested in exploring, the main area that seemed to bubble up was a strong interest in policy and how we can leverage the RNOs from Inc. and elsewhere to help put more pressure on the city to do more faster, in addition to relaying the things that the city is already doing, which is wonderful. Specifically, there was interest in maybe a topic on the upcoming mayoral election, especially as candidates maybe become more clear. But generally, this idea of transitioning away from maybe smaller impact with requiring a lot of work, such as leaf bag drop-off programs, and how can we kind of leverage our collective energies and efforts and talents into policy. Which some of us are already involved in the policy side in different ways, including Resilient Denver, the Sustainability Advisory Council. But how can we make Inc. and the RNOs, how can we leverage them and ourselves to have more impact? That was essentially it, but I would like to turn it over to Tara to talk a little bit more about her green news, neighborhood green news. And if anybody else from the committee would like to add anything as well, that'd be welcome.
Yeah, so Congress Park Green Team was very, very active until the pandemic. And when the pandemic happened, our event focus kind of fizzled. But we already had a really solid newsletter going that focuses on local and state level activities, but also neighborhood stories and talking about things like geothermal energy, et cetera, to kind of educate the community. Anyway, so then I got connected with the Northside Sustainability, and they, and trying to reach out and figure out how can we get their membership on that newsletter list. And then I've been connected with Perry and Jane through the work on 2A, and they did a really fantastic job with reaching out to the RNOs. And so with Inc., the goal, we're sort of trying to shift it away from a Congress Park newsletter to a Denver neighborhood newsletter focused on sustainability issues to help both let other people know what people in other neighborhoods are doing, as well as what's happening at the city level. So I'm going to put my email in the chat. I'm terrible at technology, but we would love, Jane and we're all going to be talking about how we kind of merge all our lists in MailChimp, which we haven't figured out yet, or figure out how to so that we can get this news out to everybody. But if you have story ideas or you want to subscribe, just shoot me an email and I can send you a link and a recent copy of the newsletter so you kind of get a sense. And the goal is we are doing like 10 a year, so it's not a lot of email. It's like you're not going to get a ton of emails from this newsletter, but you're going to get some kind of consolidated, localized news. And so again, always looking for fun story ideas and what's happening in the neighborhoods. So, and I was working with Jim and Chun. And so just trying to reach out and figure out how can we pull all our energies together to have a bigger impact. The local neighborhood events are fantastic and create a sense of community in that neighborhood, but then how do we take all of that work and make it happen citywide? So, and I see Mark already put my email in there. So please feel free to email me and I'll contact you back. Thanks for the shameless moment for shameless plugging the newsletter.
I'm just going to chime in. Tara's a really great and pithy writer. The newsletters are concise and always useful. So the other option is you can also put your email into the chat and I can give Tara a list of the people who are interested in getting it, and that might smooth it out a little bit. Things won't get lost in emails so badly. And then the other thing, if you haven't already indicated through one of the many ways we've asked you, if you want to be on our committee's mailing list, put your email in the chat and we'll make sure you hear about the new stuff coming up. Okay, the next group is group 3, and Sunny, you were the facilitator host for that one. I'm going to move it along. 'cause
Sunny, the other Sunny. that
Oh, yeah.
Want to report for us. She took our notes.
Okay.
Great job.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. So our group was actually composed of people from all different neighborhoods, so we didn't have any repeats, and that was kind of nice. A lot of the groups, their green team or climate groups were either inactive or very active, but having difficulty finding volunteers to help with events. We also, I think one of the biggest issues that came up in our group discussion was transportation and public transit, a more walkable environment, a reliable, consistent public transportation system with dedicated bus lanes and pedestrian safety. Issues around agricultural and food came up about like sustainable local food sources, which would also decrease transportation emissions. And then there was also talk about, there was one group who adopted, that was Wash Park West, adopting bus stops in their neighborhoods that they cleaned up. And I think there was also a lot of discussion about how climate seems to depress and discourage people just because of the enormity of the issues that we're facing, and sometimes a lot of inaction on those facilities. And topics or tours, we talked about instead of touring their recycling facilities, if somebody could take a video that could be watched to help reduce transportation emissions to the facility, if that could be done. There was also a question about what Denver was using to build up its green workforce, and talk about a plasma furnace in Japan that burned items to their basic elements to separate them, and also turning part of that into water. And there was also some interest in solar panels. And I think I covered anything unless anybody has anything else to add.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Sunnies. Okay, the last one is it's room number 4, and Catherine Welch was the host of that one. And then we might have a couple minutes to ask each other questions.
I think that Jay said that he was willing to report for our team.
I'm always getting voluntold around here. Happy to do it, Catherine. I was trying to
thought
keep
you
notes.
said that.
Oh, no, maybe I did. I don't remember what I say and what I think. So I voluntold myself. But we got to hear a lot about a new acronym for me as well, CHUN, Capitol Hill United Neighborhood. Did I get that right? And I guess we had Jim is a bit of a local legend. I thought I was into eco green stuff, and that I was kind of doing this before it was cool. And then Jim showed up. So I definitely had a good lesson. Personally, had a lesson in humility. It's not really group, but maybe just me volunteering that. But yeah, so they do all kinds of really interesting things that I want to hear more about. And I think I already have ideas of how we can use some technology here to share across groups. But just kind of some quick recycling collection. So they've already got a bunch of people. Now we set up a place to drop off paint, leaves, batteries, and then people start getting used to the idea that we're going to drop things off, and then you can expand. So that was really cool. And then I'm going to mess up her name again. I'm trying to think of some other themes that came up. But solid waste was kind of a big one for us, I think. And overwhelm and kind of the inability to connect in person during the pandemic. And I definitely heard and feel myself that let's all get together and hang out again, because it's kind of lonely on Zoom looking at little boxes on screens. So is that
Little stamps.
Yeah, I think the part of the reason I didn't want to share was that I don't remember what everyone else said.
Well, I can jump in. I popped into that for a minute, and it just reminded me to want to highlight an opportunity, or for those of you who are at this stage of the game, to work with Jim and Catherine and Sunny Walker with Accelerate Neighborhood Climate Action. Do one of you just want to quickly summarize what you do with neighborhoods and helping them create green or plans, sustainable action plans or climate action plans?
Go for it, Catherine.
Yeah, let's have Catherine. She's working on that
Or Sunny.
piece of our work right now.
I'll let you two then add in. We provide a planning process that starts with kind of envisioning what a neighborhood would like to do to improve the sustainability of their neighborhood and what they want it to look like and feel like, and then how do you get there? Do you have to look at what are the advantages that you have in your neighborhood that you can use, and what are the things that you're going to have to overcome, the challenges. And then there's an action planning process that's quick and helps people come up with a very concrete plan with a timeline and assignments that really gets the ball rolling. So it's usually a 1 day, like 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, a little bit more maybe here and there, depending on how the neighborhood wants to organize. We also have a brief climate science update to start it off with as well. What would you add, Sunny or Jim?
Well, I've been beat down to doing them in 3.5 hours straight through with a few stretching times in between. But yeah, some of them have really taken off, and then some not quite as much. It's sort of similar to some things we've heard here tonight. But when they do take off, when the neighbors work together, it creates resilience in the neighborhood, and it excites me. Taylor can say what she's been a part of our committee for a long time. She may have something to say there, but I'll stop.
Well, another part of the forums, am I on mute? No, I'm not. Another part of the forums is seeking out a local committee that would work on promoting the idea of having a forum for their neighborhood and approaching businesses, just kind of taking total responsibility for the journey that a neighborhood needs to go through in order to have significant gathering that can work then, on this particular topic of fighting global warming. So the journey of the committee is paramount, to having a successful community forum.
Anything else from group 4? Perry got bumped off, it looks like. This has been a fun night of technology. So anything more from group 4?
Before we jump on, I'll come back in. I just put up, instead of me trying to grab things from the chat, which we'll lose when the meeting's over, I just put together a Google sheet and grabbed as many names as I could and was furiously trying to type. But if you want to drop things in there, that way we can all communicate. If you need help, just chat me individually or something. But
can't we pull the names off the chat if we're recording?
It's a lot harder. So this way too, if people have links or things, and then that's a shared doc that kind of lives on and can be a living document. Sorry for the kind of audible, but I was putting in a Google Doc anyways. Oh yeah, sorry. Thanks, Mark. I'll be quiet now.
I don't know if the chat is, if somebody has to activate okay, it's chat disables, but normally you can click on 3 dots in the lower right-hand corner of chat and it'll ask you if you want to save it, but I don't see that option.
Well, I just enable it where you could chat with it with everyone, keep putting stuff in.
So Sunny, would you look and see if Perry's trying to get back on? She was dropped off. Is she trying to come in?
I do not find her trying to come in on the list. See if I could give her a quick text.
Well, she's trying, I know.
Yeah, but she's not in.
When Taylor comes on, will you be able to bring her on? Are you being able to admit people?
I'm here.
I can admit people, yeah.
Taylor, are you here?
I am.
Well, good evening. How are you?
I'm good.
It's been a long day and I know you've been at it all day long. We really appreciate you being here. I'm sure everybody on the call knows who you are and how successful you've been in helping neighborhoods the last few years. Perry was going to introduce you, but all of a sudden she got dropped off and I still don't have my Xfinity back. So I'm working from my phone tonight. So you know what we're talking about. So I'm just going to let you take it over. Thank you very much, Taylor.
Sounds good. Well, could you or one of the co-hosts possibly give me screen sharing ability and then I'll pull up a presentation. So I do know a lot of folks in the room, but there are some folks I haven't met yet. So I'm Taylor Moellers. I work for the City and County of Denver. I'm in our Office of Climate Action, Sustainability, and Resiliency, which we refer to as CASR because it's quite a mouthful. So sorry if I slide back into the acronym, but that's what I'm doing there. And then
you can share now.
Perfect, thank you. So as I pulled that up, so I was asked to come tell you guys about our expanded waste services proposal that is coming up right now. We've been doing community meetings. I know some folks on the call have seen the presentation before, so hopefully it's a good refresher. Maybe you have some more questions or ideas around it as I go through it again. But here, let me pull this guy up. And is that showing up for everybody? Got a nice little agenda slide. Okay, cool. So I'll try to keep it short and sweet and just go over, what waste service looks like in Denver right now, how it ties to climate, the actual proposal, and then hopefully have some time for some Q&A discussion. But really, we've been working on, reducing waste and increasing composting and recycling for years and years now. The conversations have been going on for a long time, and we're finally at a point where we are close to having an ordinance to put in front of City Council for their consideration. So really, we're trying to get out to neighborhood groups and community groups to hear your ideas, what you're excited about, what you're nervous about, how this proposal could work for you moving forward. So just to talk about what the city's service looks like right now, we service about 180,000 customers. Those are single family homes and apartments up to 7 units. So this is provided by our Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, which we call DOTI. Everyone else has to contract with private companies for their trash hauling services. So all businesses and multifamily buildings with more than 7 units. So for this proposal in particular, we're just talking about the city's customers. So those 180,000 customers, which make up about 60% of our residents in Denver. So right now the service is paid for through the city's general fund, which is where everybody's property taxes and sales taxes go to fund all the programs and services offered by the city. Everyone pays into that, even visitors, even commercial properties, folks who are not getting the service. We don't charge right now an additional fee for trash and recycling. And right now we do offer compost collection for about just under $10 a month. So right now in Denver, about 74% of our waste goes straight to the landfill. Our diversion rate, which is our recycling and composting rate, is around 26%, whereas the national average is around 34%. So despite Denver having kind of a green reputation, we're really not doing too hot on composting and recycling. And through all the different education efforts and compost collection rollout over the years, we've only really been increasing that diversion rate about 1 or 2% over the past 20 years. So we're just not getting the diversion rate that we're hoping for. And another reason that is really important is because landfill emissions really matter when it comes to climate change. So methane is one of the emissions from landfills. It is a super potent greenhouse gas. It does more damage to the atmosphere than carbon, but it does also leave the atmosphere quicker. So what this quote here is getting at is that if we can stop emitting methane sources as soon as possible, we can have a noticeable improvement within our lifetime. And then, I always want to bring it back to, who are we doing this for? We have, negative impacts of climate change affect people differently, disproportionately. So the neighborhoods in the darker blues are areas where people have lower access to healthy foods, poorer air quality, more susceptibility to extreme heat events from climate change, all of that. So we're trying to improve those quality of life indicators through a variety of means. So like I mentioned, we've been talking about waste reduction for a long, long time. And we feel like we've done, pretty much what we can with education to encourage our customers to recycle and compost more. And what we keep hearing from citizens as well as different advisory groups like the Sustainable Food Policy Council, the Climate Action Task Force, and other groups is that we should look at moving towards a fee-based system. And they say that because we've seen it work in other cities. So here are our diversion rates, so that recycling and composting rate in other cities who have implemented a fee for trash services while providing compost and recycling at no additional cost. So you can see some of these cities have diversion rates that are 2 or 3 times higher than what Denver has. So here is the actual proposal and how it will work. So if we were to move to a fee-based system, it's important to note that by law, we cannot raise more funds than what is needed to cover the cost of service, the waste hauling services. So everything that we provide right now would still be included with 2 big changes. So weekly recycling, right now we pick it up every other week. And then weekly composting would be provided at no additional charge. So you wouldn't have to pay extra to have the green compost cart like you do right now. And these are things that we've heard for a long time. People have a lot of recyclable materials. They want additional pickups. And we hear all the time people want to compost, but they have to pay to do the right thing. So we kind of want to flip that on its head and start charging folks for the trash that they produce. So here is how it would actually work. And these are the proposed monthly rates. So basically, you would get charged based on the size of your trash cart. So the smallest cart at 35 gallons would have the smallest fee at $9 a month. And then there are 3 different options going up to the largest cart at 95 gallons, which would be $21 a month. And you can mix and match your cart sizes. We have those available, these 3 sizes for trash, recycling, and compost. So you can make it work for your space depending on, your set outs or where you store your carts. So here are just a couple photos from Kasser staff alleys and backyards of how we've mixed and matched the different cart options. And then, I also want to acknowledge that we know that any additional fee on folks is hard, especially for low income or fixed income neighbors. So we are prepared to offer an instant rebate program. This is our affordability program. Eligibility would be based on area median income, which takes into account both the income of the household and the number of people in the house. So this is the proposed discount instant rebate rates based on AMI. Also want to note that renters would also be eligible. So even if the landlord wasn't eligible through this program, renters could apply to cover their fees if landlords pass those on to the renters. And then wanted to show some comparable fees from around the Denver metro area. So these are from other cities who either the city provides the service or residents all have to contract out to their own private haulers. So our fees would be significantly less than those we see in other cities around the Denver metro area. And as far as we know, we don't know of any other cities or haulers that offer a discount program like we're prepared to do with the instant rebate. So here's where we're at. We are going around to different neighborhood groups and community groups to present the proposal and get feedback and thoughts from the community. We hope to be able to put this in front of City Council for a vote in April. And if that were to be approved, we'd be prepared to roll out the service starting in the fall. So I will take down my screen now so I can see all of your lovely faces and take some questions.
So I have a question. I don't know if I should just dive right in.
Yeah.
Great. So I have two concerns related to this. One is whether any of our recyclables end up getting recycled these days anyway, just with the current global situation. And so to the extent that it's not, if we're just kind of pushing a problem somewhere else. The second is I worry about people getting lax, even more lax with sorting. And I don't know how that kind of enforcement works. But I would assume if that suddenly your recycling and compost are basically free and your trash is not, you might start putting things in recycling and compost that shouldn't be, or we'll just get a generally less educated crowd joining in on the recycling and composting, and it might have detrimental kind of unintended consequences.
Yeah, thank you for those questions. I'm sorry that I don't have one of our Department of Transportation and Infrastructure folks here who manages the contracts for our recyclables. We do have pretty stringent requirements in the contracts that require those materials to actually be recycled. And I can grab some more information on that and share with this group. But your recyclables are being recycled. And then contamination, yes, we hear that at a lot of meetings, and it's definitely a concern for us. You know, we know that if this ordinance were to pass, education and outreach would be, you know, the big push at the front end, getting people more aware of recycling. For, you know, the folks who don't have compost, we have about 30,000 customers right now, but that means there's 150,000 customers who could be getting a compost cart for the first time. So there will be a lot of need for education around what goes where. And then, you know, later on, we do have enforcement mechanisms for contamination. So there will be more folks who could go out and check carts. We would certainly not start with punishing anyone for, you know, messing up. We want to make sure people have ample opportunities to learn and, you know, maybe get some warnings or suggestions or whatever it might be. But, you know, I don't know, a couple of years from now, if we're still having contamination issues, there would be opportunities for enforcement. I saw Catherine's hand up next.
picked up on the same day. And I'm concerned about that on behalf of people who live on a cul-de-sac where the trash containers of various sorts are all kind of pushed together and blocking the driveways. It's tough. And I'm sure other people have similar circumstances. Tough to get them all out there and still have clear driveway spaces.
Yeah, sorry. I think I got your question. You cut out at the very beginning, but around set out and having all, instead of having 1 or 2 carts, now having potentially 3 carts out. So there are a couple of things I'll say on that. We certainly encourage sharing of carts, especially compost. So a lot of folks, if there's not a lot of yard maintenance or whatever, you don't actually need or could fill a compost cart every single week. So we certainly still encourage that. And then the other thing I'll note is the city just did a reroute. So you probably saw some notices and flyers or mailers or whatever about that in January, where they have kind of concentrated the routes, and they have a field supervisor who is responsible for a smaller area. And so they're doing some audits of what the set outs look like right now, to see where there are kind of those overcrowding issues. I know I live on an alley like that, where trash day tends to block some garages or whatever it might be. And so they'll be working with residents a little more one-on-one in those particular areas, like a cul-de-sac where there are some set out issues, to see if there's different ways that they could pick up, or opportunities for people to share carts, or downsize to maybe the smallest cart for all of the options, just based on what people are throwing out. And then I thought I saw Adam, but then the hand went down. So
yeah, no, I actually just wanted to give you a pat on the back and tell you that this is amazing. My wife and I have been complaining about paying for compost and not paying for trash for many years now, and this is the way to go. And I think that you put in the whole AMI thing is very forward thinking. I think we should get this thing passed and then worry about educating everyone as quickly as possible, because the people that you're talking to right now, we're all probably in favor of it. I think you need to get out into those other areas where people maybe are not as educated on recycling and composting. And Mark, to your point, people are going to mess up recycling no matter what. I know a lot about recycling and I still mess it up. So the other day, I didn't realize that commercial facilities don't recycle coffee cups, but residential ones can. So I was still confused by that. So people will mess it up no matter what. Let's just get more people involved, more households into the program, and hopefully it'll increase our recycle rate. So thanks.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, from the sustainability side of things, it feels very backwards to make people compost when that's what we want them to do. So we're trying to kind of flip that behavior for folks. I see Thomas's hand up.
Yeah, I've got a question. We have a giant trash, the black one, and we'll want to get one of the very small ones because we only have a couple of bags every week. But what will happen to the old big one? Will it get recycled or reused, or
Yeah,
hopefully
so
not go to the landfill?
no, it will not go to the landfill. So first, depending on the condition of your cart, the city would take that cart back when they dropped off your smaller cart, and then hopefully repurpose it if there's another household that wants a larger cart. If not, it could, or if it was damaged in some way, they would try to fix it up. If it was damaged beyond repair, then it would be recycled. So there already is a contract in place for recycling of the trash recycling and compost carts if they are damaged beyond repair. But the first would be to try to repurpose them, to keep them in storage. We know the city is growing, so we'll probably continue to need more carts. So the first one would be to try to repurpose it.
So then you also have a choice on size of your trash and your compost and your recycling.
Yeah, so all three come in all three sizes. So the 35 gallon, the 65 and the 95.
But your charge will be for the stuff that goes to the landfill.
Oops, sorry, my lights just went off. Yes, so you would be charged based on the size of your trash cart, but you could have the largest compost cart and the largest recycling cart or any combination. But the fee is based on the size of your trash cart. You know, we're trying to incentivize folks to utilize the smallest trash cart, reduce their waste so that they can use that smallest trash cart.
Because we currently have the compost, and in the summers we have lots of stuff in there, and now in the winter it's stuff we don't want to put in our garden compost.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Of course. All right, I'm back in the light.
Just a final, maybe final, I think we're running out of time, but quick follow-up. I was reminded by Thomas's question. Would there be any changes to large item pickup days? Because I could see people maybe saving more stuff for large item pickup, and then it, you know, again, kind of defeating the purpose.
Yeah, so the city recently went back to, I think, every 4 weeks picking up large items. So that would stay the same if this ordinance were to pass. And yes, that's something we have our eye on. So we're, you know, already, if the ordinance were to pass, we're already kind of prepping those field supervisors to keep an eye on, you know, is the large item pickup getting used more or overutilized, or, you know, whatever it might be, and make some tweaks from there. And I saw a question. I can certainly share these slides. We have them in English and Spanish. I also wanted to drop the website link. We'll be adding more FAQs to that page. And then I think I saw one question about compost. So the city's compost does go to a commercial composting facility, and the temperatures, I don't remember off the top of my head what they are, but they are much higher than what you would reach in a backyard compost pile. So it kills off a lot more of those germs or mold or other concerns. But I can find out more about what goes on there. But my understanding is it gets so hot that it wipes out pretty much everything. Cool. Well, I also wanted to say I'll drop my email in the chat. I forget who made the point about you guys probably being more likely to be proponents of this. We certainly want to talk with more folks. So I am happy to come to any neighborhood organization meetings to give this presentation. We're also convening focus groups for folks we think, you know, might not be as in favor or might have a harder time adjusting to this new fee. So if you have ideas around that, please feel free to send them my way. I see the chat is disabled now, so I can't put my email in there. So if we could re-enable it somehow, that would be great.
Oh, who did that? Huh. Okay, it's enabled. Everybody can
Perfect.
chat with anybody and everybody.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for having me here. Good to see a lot of folks and meet some new folks. And I guess pass it back over to Jane to close the meeting out.
Yeah, well done.
Taylor, thank you. We are really fortunate that you're with the city of Denver and doing what you're doing, because you're always well informed and happy to answer all of our questions and give us some good guidance how to go forward. So is Perry on?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
You were going to give
Okay.
something about, yes, the survey.
Yeah. If you tell me you can hear me, you sort of broke up for a second there.
Yes.
Okay,
We
good.
don't see you,
yeah.
but we hear you. You're on the phone, right?
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't figure out the other way. Sorry about that. We have no internet service here. It's our turn, I guess. I'm so glad the show went on. And the only thing I wanted to say is many of you have already responded to a survey that Keith Meyer designed and sent out to the Northside Alliance. We sent it out to RNOs, and we sent it out to anyone who'd signed up for the Inc. Sustainability email update. So it's really interesting. I mostly want to say that the city is completely sincere about this community engagement and leaving no stone unturned, and is pushing hard to get feedback from people they don't usually hear from. We will still have the survey up for a while. Really interesting comments have come in. Generally speaking, between 70 and 75% are in favor of it, with some caveats and a lot of good advice. There's an open comment section that people are filling in. So when we send out a link to this recording and whatever chat, I'm not sure if the chat stayed operating too, but we'll send that all out, and another link to the survey and anything that Taylor wants us to send out as well.
Yeah. Don't close the meeting, whoever's going to close it, until
Okay.
we figure out if we can save the chat.
All right, thank you. So Perry, thank you. I cannot get over all the technology glitches that we've all had today and tonight. And I thank everybody for your patience and your understanding and all your great comments and your real concern. The reason that we're all here, like Jay had said earlier today, is because we all really care. And we care deeply, and we want to make a difference. So if we hang together, I think that we will be able to be very successful. Wanted to remind you again that next month will be the 4th Thursday at 6:30. And we will have a legislative update and other issues that night, probably gained from what we've talked about tonight. Thank you all for coming. Perry, was there something else we were going to bring up at the end?
Oh, no, you got it. Thanks everybody for coming. I think there's such power in connecting across the city and learning about other neighborhoods too. We want to grow this committee. We really very earnestly want to reach out into some of the neighborhoods that are not currently presented, like on the west side and the northeast, northwest part of town. So any connections you have in those neighborhoods, we'd love to hear from you.
Right. Yes. Encourage your neighbors to join on next month. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you all for joining us. And we're not going to sign off until we know that the chat has been saved.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, all of you.
Sunny, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm here, and I'm trying to see if your account is apparently not set up for anybody else to save, because even as co-host, I couldn't get in there to fix it or to save the chat.
So
I'm hoping it saves
something-
automatically to you, but I'm not sure if you're only on the phone if it will.
It still should.
Okay.
this is the Inc. Zoom account, and the email associated with it is not an email I have access to, but I'm presuming that Maggie will get the transcript of the chat like I usually get when I just do another, different organization.
Ah, okay. That's great.
I hope.
It should save automatically. Is anybody else here on that account? Or, I mean,
No.
it is that account that opened, right? Even if after you went off, it stayed that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Jane, do you know
Then
how to
we're
get
good.
those emails? Hey, Jane,
Well-
do you know how to get those emails?
I'm talking
I
about
hope
Jane.
so.
Okay, good. 'Cause, but I've been pretty diligent on grabbing the chats. If you just leave the meeting open a little bit longer, and or if anybody else wants to hop into that Google Sheet, like I was saying, I was just tracking everything in a Google Sheet anyways. And so that's what I did mid-meeting was just open that up to everybody. And then Mark kept being like, it's open, but you haven't done this yet, or this, or this.
I did put in a link that anybody could edit.
Good. Okay.
So
Eventually,
that should work.
I think we got there. For some reason, I can't copy. What I would do is I would just copy paste the whole thing. And I guess that's disabled some way somehow.
I couldn't do it either.
Okay. Oh, that's what you were saying. Now I understand, Sunny. So yeah, like I said, if you give me a few more minutes, and if anybody else wants to hop in, I have anybody who provided their email address, I'm grabbing from the chat. The other thing is that anybody who logged in and signed up, we have their email address from Zoom. So I don't know that there's that much content that we're gonna lose. But
yeah, there were some suggestions about things that were put in the chat.
Yeah,
like I said,
and some people signed up for Tara's newsletter through that.
Yeah,
but
so that's what I said. All of those email addresses are right now in this Google Sheet, or
Okay.
I'm in the process of just manually copying them. Yeah, and that's, like I said, why I opened that up during the meeting was to try to get some of that in there to avoid this issue down the road. But and then I can share this. The notes that I grabbed are in our like committee. We have like a little committee doc. So I just kept them in the same doc that you already have access to. So I think most of the stuff is already like, maybe we lose 5-10%. There's a couple links here or something.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Jay, thank you so very much.
Yeah.
We've had so much, I'm on my phone, Tara's on
Yeah.
her phone.
Yeah. And I understand the pressure when it's your show, and I call it the freak out. I won't put that on you. You can use your own words, but I was very impressed with like the level of calm and collected despite constant disaster happening. So even if it doesn't feel like it, it looked like it. You did great.
That's very kind of you. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for your help.
Yeah.
So did you put it in
Sonny,
a
thanks
different
for the backup.
doc?
Yeah. What's that? I don't know what you shared, Sunny. I'm going through like little by little. If you look at my chats, I have a Google spreadsheet that I opened up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. I was looking for it in the doc that we were using to take notes in the breakouts, and I didn't see it there, but that's okay.
Okay, gotcha. So each
I'll get it
different breakout
later.
room.
I'm not in charge. I just wanted to make sure you had it if you could get it.
Yeah, I think
so.
Sonny,
Thanks,
God
everyone.
For you. Sonny, thank you so much.
And for doing this, I've got to get the Thursday nights on my calendar. And you said 6:30 now.
On your calendar.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
Now I'm
see you
finding.
guys.
Yeah. Great. Bye.
Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah, good to see you
Thank
guys.
you, Taylor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Taylor.
And
You all.
Jane and
Have a good night.
Terry. Yay.
Whoever's don't close. I think I can keep it open.
I'm still on, but I
Okay,
don't
cool.
like this. Carry on.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, but-
as long as no one ends it for meeting for all, I can keep.
So Jane, I can't do anything on the phone. I went in through
Right.
a different door, and I'm no longer a co-host. I'm no longer a
Oh,
co-host.
right.
So
Okay.
I'm irrelevant to the process right now.
Okay, that's okay. Are we still? We're also still recording. I'm gonna stop that. We don't need to record this part.